The Galactic Marines, also known as the 21st Nova Corps, were a prominent military unit of clone troopers noted for their unique armor and relentlessness in combat. The Marines served in the Grand Army of the Republic as part of the 4th Sector Army under the leadership of Jedi General Ki-Adi-Mundi and Marshal Commander CC-1138, also known as Bakara. Prior to the conclusion of the Clone Wars, the Marines fought Separatist Alliance droid forces in the assault on Megiddo, where they received Order 66, causing Mundi's Marines to betray and kill him on the battlefield. Hello to you newcomers and welcome back, my lovely subscribers. Today, we're going to be making the Galactic Marines helmet as seen in Revenge of the Sith. I've always loved the look of these helmets and they're very unique. This is one skin that I really wish they'd add to Battlefront 2. And I'm sure some of you guys remember playing the original Battlefront 2. They had these sort of troopers available. They had a sort of a chain gun and everything. It was great. I really loved how this helmet turned out. I got to do some different things and use some different materials, so it was pretty fun as well. With all that said, let's get started. If you're new to the channel, you might not know that every helmet I finish starts as a raw 3D print. If 3D printing is new to you, I highly encourage you to try it as a hobby if you're interested in these kinds of videos. It can really help unlock your creative potential. For those of you with 3D printers, I've linked the files I used in the description. If you don't have a 3D printer, I also sell all the physical pieces we start with in my shop. That's also linked in the description. Luckily for us, there's only 3 large pieces to this print: the top dome, lower dome, and the face. The first thing we're going to have to do is attach the top dome to the lower dome. We're going to be leaving the face separate for now, since it's going to help us come painting time. The dome is going to be one color and the face will remain white. For joining the dome pieces, we're going to use our sandpaper pad on a flat board to make sure we have a nice even surface when we apply the glue. Speaking of the glue, we're going to be using a combination of a cyanoacrylate superglue for a fast hold and some E6000 for a strong hold. Sometimes I like to add a little reinforcement to the inside of the helmet along the seam lines by heating up a soldering iron and physically welding the 2 pieces together as well. I've also used a 2-part fiberglass resin on the inside, but keep in mind this will significantly increase the weight of the helmet. This is the first step, but also one of the most critical to get right. If one of the pieces is misaligned, it might be difficult or impossible to realign it or sand it out. So be patient and hold the helmet together until the glue sets. The next thing we need to do is start smoothing out the 3D printer lines. This is an important step and really cannot be skipped. If we tried to paint the helmet straight away, the quality would only be a fraction of what it's capable of. To start filling in the lines, we're going to use Rust-Oleum filler primer. Now the filler primer is much thicker than your regular primer, and it's also sandable. So what we're going to do is give the helmet 3 to 4 heavy coats of filler primer, let that primer seep in to the 3D print lines, and then sand it down so that we're left with a smooth finish. You can go a little wild with the filler primer at this step. We're not too worried about streaks or smudges, since we're going to be sanding it all down anyway. Wait about 20 minutes in between coats. We're going to coat the entire dome in filler primer, but only the sides of the face that are going to be exposed. That's because we're going to use a white vinyl material, since the Galactic Marine is kind of a fabric mask that drapes down below the helmet over part of the chest. Now filler primer excels at filling in a lot of the smaller print lines at once. What it isn't so great at is filling in some of the steeper lines along the top of the dome. For that, we're going to be using another product called Bondo Spot Putty. The Bondo is a very popular choice in the prop making world since it comes out of a tube with kind of a toothpaste consistency, but after a short while, it'll harden to the point where we can sand it smooth. Use Bondo along the thick layer lines of the helmet, especially on the seam lines between the joined parts on the dome. This is going to ensure a smooth transition between the multiple pieces of the helmet, as well as a smooth surface for painting. You really want it so that you can't even tell it started as 2 original pieces. Once the Bondo is hardened over a few hours, we can begin sanding. Now sanding is going to be the hardest part of the whole process, so if you can make it through this, the rest is a lot more fun. I went straight to hand sanding for this helmet since there wasn't that much sanding to do compared to some of the other helmets. That's largely because of the fabric material that's going to cover the face. I gotta say, It was really nice not having to worry about sanding that big portion of the helmet. It really saved me a lot of time. I used a 150 grit pad of sandpaper as a first pass to wear down the Bondo and filler primer. After that, I moved up to 300 grit to smooth it all out. At this point, you might have realized that you missed a spot or two with the Bondo or filler primer, and that's perfectly fine. All you need to do is repeat the filler primer, the Bondo, or both, and then resand. After I'm happy with the smoothness of the helmet, I'll usually cover it in one more layer of filler primer just to get it all in one uniform color, and then sand again with the 300 grit. Once the helmet is smoothed to your finish, we can begin painting. Painting this helmet was breathtakingly simple. All I needed was kind of a red wine burgundy color for the dome, and the face was a flat matte white. Just be sure to do it in very light coats, since if you have any runs or streaks at this point, you're going to have to sand them down once they've dried. Now that the paint is dried, we can add the vinyl material to the face. Originally, I ordered 2 yards off Amazon, but holy crap guys, they sent me way more than I needed or expected. Apparently, the bolt was almost out of material, so they just changed it out and gave me what was left. So as a bonus, I'm going to be adding a cut of the fabric to every 3D print I sell of this Galactic Marine, so you too can save yourself some sanding as well. I'm going to be using the cyanoacrylate superglue to attach the fabric to the face and use some clamps to keep it in place. We're going to wait until the glue is cured and holds the fabric in place before we start trimming away the excess. Now once our glue is set, we're going to trim away the excess material with some scissors. Now that we've got the face cover attached, we can go ahead and glue the top dome to the face. Just make sure that the dome is perfectly aligned with where you trimmed the face cover. Now that we got it all mostly finished, we can begin the weathering process. Now the weathering process is optional, but if you're looking to give your helmet an authentic battle damaged look, it is vital. Luckily, you don't have to be a master airbrusher to get great effects. The supplies we need are really simple. There's some gloves, black acrylic paint, a cup, a sponge brush, and paper towels. What we're going to be doing is adding some paint to the cup and then adding a small amount of water to that cup to make a black liquid mixture. We're then going to paint that mixture over the helmet, letting the paint soak into all the places of the helmet as well as the vinyl covering on the face. After a few seconds of soaking, we'll follow it up with a paper towel and wipe away a majority of the paint. What's going to be left is a small amount of paint in all the areas, but especially the recessed areas that couldn't get cleaned out as well. This is what gives it the realistic effect of general dirtiness and really sets the helmet apart from a clean white. We're going to be repeating this process in small portions around the helmet until we've got the thing as dirty as we like. A nice benefit of this process is you can continue to use it as long as you like or as short as you like. Each iteration will make the helmet dirtier and dirtier, so there are basically an infinite amount of possibilities you can go for. With the helmet now weathered, we're almost completely finished. But what clone trooper would be complete without a visor? Now the Galactic Marine really doesn't have a traditional visor, so we're just going to cut some of the Hobart face shield to cover up the eye holes. I just cut out a small section of the visor that I needed, and then we're going to be attaching it with duct tape since it's just kind of a display piece. So there you go guys, that is how I completed my Galactic Marine helmet. This thing is going to sit very nicely next to my Bakara helmet. I really enjoyed incorporating some fabric into the design since it looked great and also saved me a lot of sanding. Remember to check out the description for a link to the materials and the files used in this video. I hope you learned something from this video. I hope you're feeling confident enough to take a project like this on yourself. And as always, I hope to see you guys again in the next video.